We're here at the Bitcoin 2022 conference in Miami, and I'm with Pierre, who is sole producer, director,
writer,
scriptwriter of The Great Reset
and the Rise of Bitcoin.
and the Rise of Bitcoin. Interesting new documentary.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Happy to be here. Happy to be able to meet so many people. I think it's a good vibe, and as soon as I talk about my film, people are excited. People heard about it, have watched it, and so a lot of engagement comes from it. So it's really cool.
When did you launch the preview?
Released 5th of January. Yeah.
Okay.
So 3 months from now.
And you had a release or like a screening?
Yeah, I had a screening here in Miami because I thought the film got such a success that I'd be able to bring people together here, take this work out of the virtual world, YouTube world, out into actually meeting people and.
So you had a screening in a cinema?
Yeah, that's right. I rented out a cinema, and there was about 100 people that came.
Wow.
And then we got a Q&A and discussion with Knut Svanholm and Ben from BTC Sessions that were there, and then we all went for drinks.
Amazing. I think that's a good point to start. Maybe let's start with the basics. How did you get into Bitcoin?
I got into Bitcoin by first shitcoins, and then this pushes you to study and realize that Bitcoin is the only thing that actually has value. And I was just working in my corporate job and studying this and getting, going down the rabbit hole that every Bitcoiner goes through. And eventually I thought, okay, enough of, working for big corporations and making money for them. I should just focus on Bitcoin because that's the only thing that matters. And and so that's what I did, and first project I thought I would work on was this film.
Did you ever thought you'd be doing a film?
Well, it was always a bit of this thing. I always wanted to do a film school. I did the film course, and but in the end, I went for
finance.
I studied finance, yeah. But at the same time, studying finance is what led me to understand Bitcoin properly, and I think just be in this space and film, down the road. But no, I never thought I'd do it. At least not so quickly, kind of. It was my first idea after quitting my job.
I think for the viewers, I think it's really interesting, how people come into the space. Could you give us a little breakdown of your way from before to where you're now here? So you were with Accenture, that's what I know. So why did you study finance? Where?
So I studied. So I was basically for business. I did a bachelor's degree in business, and then I traveled to Australia, and that's where I did a master's degree in finance. Why finance? It was kind of okay. I'm continuing my studies. Would I go for HR, marketing? I thought finance was the more, serious thing that I would be more interested in. And in fact I was, surprisingly, because I used to kind of hate finance during my bachelor's, but my master's, I had a few great professors, one in particular that was teaching a lot about
what's special about this book?
So we had 4 hours per week with him, and the first half hour to an hour he would teach us how to make money. And so he was really sharing the kind of lifestyle choices you should make, how to spend your money, how to save your money. No, it was just a lot of what, if you get a bonus, if you get your bonus, don't go and spend
Bitcoin.
it. Yeah. So Bitcoin wasn't a thing yet, not as big. And
if you get a bonus, don't waste it.
Exactly, don't spend it, invest it, get ahead. That's what we always say, remember, you have to get ahead.
Get rid of the red.
Yeah, and then you can get outside of your own loop, and this inspired me a lot. Mm-hmm. And once I started my professional career, that's how I was thinking, and I was seeing how I can get into finance, mostly stocks, until I discovered, Bitcoin.
So you did investing?
Yeah, some, exactly. But just putting parts of my savings aside that I was doing every month, and as I was stacking sats. Well, before that, I was just stacking stocks.
Right, yeah. What was the
And I got rid of all the stocks. Now it's only Bitcoin.
Really?
Man, it's worthless compared to
what do you make out of quick excursus? So Robinhood announced Lightning integration right after Peter Thiel talked about Ethereum being a payment network.
Right.
What's your experience with that, like with the show here, with the content on stage?
Really cool. I think there was a lot of shitcoining, surprisingly, because in the end there is the Bitcoin logo there, so you wouldn't expect any shitcoining. But no, but in general, really cool. I tried to attend as little as possible because they were all online, right? So I was just trying to network as much as possible. Of course, attended some of the big ones like Jack Mallers, Michael Saylor.
But like Robin Hood, like
yeah.
I mean, for me that's actually the most interesting, like compared to what Peter Thiel said.
Yes.
Like, amazing.
Yeah, I think I mean Robin Hood. Yeah, getting into Lightning, that's what you want to see.
It.
No, you didn't expect it. And that's what you want to see as a Bitcoiner, because the Lightning network is the best scaling option.
Yeah.
It's free, instant. That's what is going to take Bitcoin to the next level, right? And that's what so many other cryptos, shitcoins, try to compete with, and they just have zero chance. Like Bitcoin just won and eliminates all these guys out. And I think what's happening with Ripple and Greenpeace and all that, like that's because they know it. They realize that they're going to be out of business in a few years, so the only thing you can do is like shit talk and attack it. And they're the losing party. So don't listen to these guys.
Well, let's move over to enough business talk. The title obviously is already quite a pinch. The Great Reset. How did you come up with that title?
So I thought it would be punchy. A lot of people talk about the Great Reset, what it is, and I thought it fits. Yeah.
So most people don't even know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a book about about the Great Reset.
There's a book about exactly.
So one thing I realized is like if you look at the currencies, it seems to me I'm not an expert on it at all, but like the euro, the dollar, the yen, Swiss franc at least. Ruble actually is going, dumped and went back out. But like it seems to me that like there's a pairing of Swiss franc now. You remember there was a conference I think in Switzerland like 5 years ago where they changed something, and like now it seems to me like it's all shit coins and they're all just going down the drain.
Yes.
So it seems like it could be an orchestrated reset. Currency reset.
Yeah, I think it is, right? Because everyone just has so much debt that they have to coordinate in order to hyperinflate every economy in order for the value of this debt to become relatively smaller. But now that we have this global world and these countries and economies that communicate, then if they all do it at the same time, no one loses against their neighbor. I mean, that's the illusion that you get, right? Because everyone just has high inflation at the same time. Therefore, one country won't be better off than the other. And that's why it's organized.
Well, I mean, it's historically, right? So every paper currency goes to zero at some point, right? And so there's history rhymes, right?
Yeah, and that's the number one, I think, and the one that most people can relate to reason for Bitcoin to exist, because you're just facing 100% certainty of devaluation versus Bitcoin that doesn't work the same way. It's fixed asset.
How did you come up with the idea for your film?
Well, I was wondering what can I do for Bitcoin, and then I watched a documentary, Inside Job, that is about global financial. And the next day I went for a run. I love
this movie.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, it's like Tom Tykwer, which is one of the greatest German filmmakers ever, and that particular film is about a conspiracy, like Big Bangs, right? And it's an amazing movie, first of all.
Amazing.
And they talk about the debt bubble in that movie, and some other thing I think about the big boys and stuff. Like it's an amazing movie.
Yes.
Great.
And so that was like my number one inspiration, and in fact that's so the next day after watching it, and I was like, okay, it would be really cool to like make a film like that.
Hey,
I went for a run.
Here's the next generation.
And I went for a long run, the longest run I did all summer last year, and because I was just thinking of that, just like this
longest
idea,
run. You did a marathon or something?
No. What I mean by that is just me going out for a run, but thinking about this got me just going further. And then I came back, and I remember telling Ada, my girlfriend, instantly, I want to make a film. and that's just how the idea came. And I thought, how I could. So what I would want to talk about was mostly based off Ray Dalio's video, How the Economic Machine Works, and an article that Dylan Leclerc had written about this, because he put the context of Bitcoin. And I thought, this is a great way to explain what is happening to people just by actually putting numbers and doing all the data research and laying it all out, because Ray Dalio explains the 3 strategies that central banks will take, but not giving actual numbers. And when you look at the numbers, you see that we're already way beyond the level where these strategies can be efficient, and the only thing that's left is to print money, and this concerns every single person on the planet. Yet no one understands it. Inflation is just this thing that is here, right? So, yeah, the objective of the film was to really explain this properly. Yeah.
Amazing. So to me, it sounds like this is a movie made by someone that has deep insight into finance, geoeconomics, macroeconomics, and Bitcoin.
Right.
And you've come out of the industry, so the traditional, consulting space, basically. So, who is this film for?
It's kind of for everyone. I think that Bitcoiners can really get something out of it too, because it just explains things, complicated concepts in a very simple way that can also allow them to explain it down the road to whoever they're trying to orange pill, right? And it's also just a very good orange pill material.
What's orange pill?
Orange pill is explaining people what is Bitcoin and get them to understand the value of it, as opposed to any other shitcoin, and by that I mean any fiat currency as well.
Right.
Yeah. And and I think this is where there's the value of this film, and it explains all this very simply for people that don't necessarily understand the economy, don't understand Bitcoin, and they will get how it concerns them personally and directly, both in terms of freedom and in terms of financial future for them.
Yep. So you mentioned that in the beginning briefly that the Bitcoin community is very supportive. So how was your experience doing this movie?
Well, I did everything alone, the entire promotion alone, right? So there was a lot of work in the background.
So you had one camera, cameraman?
Yeah, that's right. I had one cameraman. The rest was all done using just existing footage and put everything together based on whatever I wrote, existing footage to support these concepts, and and that's pretty much it. And then the promotion part of it, that was a very hard part, because you're just out there alone, and so there was a lot of spamming, like many people like in the Bitcoin industry, but also in the cinema industry, and just trying to get conversations there. And I was lucky enough that Peter McCormack answered to the emails, saw the project, thought it was really good, and he simply, once the film was out, he retweeted that. And also I managed to reach out to Bitcoin Magazine, because I knew that they were doing a lot of video content themselves as well, and they wanted me to write an article, share a trailer for the film through them, and they tweeted that out. So the first day it was already booming. Yeah. And I was very, very lucky and very grateful to both Bitcoin Magazine and the people that helped there, and Peter McCormack for that, because they really managed to get the word out. And then it's just spamming more people and getting the word out even more, and you end up having more conversations, and somehow the YouTube algorithm really loved my film. I think it has to do with the fact that I split it into chapters and got everything working on that side as well, to make sure that the channel was alive.
Yeah, so you have a trailer. How much clicks does that have?
The trailer has way less than the film. The film on my channel has over 550,000 views. The trailer has
on the film.
On the film,
Wow.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin Magazine also posted my film on their channel, and it's got 150,000 views there. Yeah, so
Can you share a demographic? Is it mostly US? Or?
It's mostly US, but very global in general.
Cool.
Yeah. And so there's people from all around the world that have reached out to help in doing the translation. So it's also available in Russian subtitles, in Indonesian. There's someone working to translate it now into Spanish, and it's just people that reached out.
Well, Indonesia is great because it's Bali, and everyone loves Bali.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And that's all community based, people that reach out and just wanna, they see huge value in this film, and they just want it to scale even more.
And then, another thing on the experience for you. So I know that producing a movie teaches you a lot, because you speak to all these experts. So how were yourself before and then after the production?
More orange pilled even, because you.
So maybe you could tell a little bit who are the experts in the movie? What's the movie about? What's the red line of the movie? What's the pitch?
So the Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin, it focuses on the monetary reset that we are going through and will be going through for, we'll see how long it takes, but this kind of stuff can take up to a decade of hyperinflation.
So maybe we could start from there, actually, because, again, the movie is titled that way, right? Yeah. So what is the Great Reset in your eyes?
So the Great Reset is just this entire narrative that is pushed by the World Economic Forum, right? This is where it comes from. Literally, the guy that runs it titled his book "The Great Reset," and it covers a lot of different aspects when it comes to, well, the economy, finance, and our monetary system, which is the part I try to focus on. But then there's a lot of individual freedoms when it comes to, how there will be the new credit systems. How do you call them?
Well, yeah, credit scoring. So
credit
I mean,
scoring,
yeah, you're right. I mean,
exactly.
also like the I think the generally like managing people.
Yes, managing people in
In a way,
general.
right, so-
Automations, how robots are going to take over. Like, I mean, he has very dark scenarios for the future of humanity, and it's worth calling it out, basically. Now, in my film, I just stayed on the monetary part because like, I think that the monetary part of this Great Reset is beyond already being some conspiracy theory.
Yep.
Because
I mean,
it's
the book
facts.
is tiled away, right?
Yeah,
They're quite outspoken about it. And the
Yeah.
question is like how it will play out, right?
Yeah,
What it actually is. So we see like CBDCs,
Exactly.
central bank digital currencies being like designed in front of our eyes,
Yeah.
happening. So in China, for instance, the CBDC experiment was more of a a failure because it turns out that the payment processors, the WeChats and
Yeah.
Alibaba Pays that are present, they have the upper hand right now.
But this can change. Yeah, like we know the Chinese government, they do whatever they want, kind of. Yeah, like maybe just for the scaling opportunities and being able to release this fast and show an example to the rest of the world, because after all, everyone is going to copy them. Then it was easier to go with these companies to get the infrastructure up and running. But any Chinese company is very much government controlled, and we know that. I mean, even Jack Ma disappearing, this kind of stuff is all related to the government pressure that is happening there. And I think it's going to look very similar in our countries now, and it's just a matter of having the right crisis set up for this to happen. Yeah. Like I think in Ukraine for young adults now, there is basically a social credit system. There is CBDCs that was installed during the current crisis that they're facing, and no one is talking about it.
How do you move on from the problem to the solution in the story of the movie?
In the movie, I talk about CBDCs, showing them as the danger for humanity.
Like the BIS, right? So it's
Yes,
like
exactly.
absolute control.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's like this system of running an economy with a centrally managed monetary system, whereas this movie In Time, right? You know that
Yeah.
one, right? Where they have like the poor ghetto slaves, then they have these sectors, and they can't really cross borders,
Yes.
right? So it's like this perfect control, and it's happening in front of our eyes. I mean, your money on the bank is not your money.
Exactly.
It's fact.
It's just a fact,
Right.
definitely. And so in the film, the way I transition from, because it starts with the economy, then it goes to CBDCs, as the solution central banks are going to try and push out there, and then I introduce Bitcoin because the way basically these CBDCs are inspired by what crypto is, how it was created. That's kind of the trends that central banks are following themselves in order to push them, right?
Yeah, like
because
digital
they say,
wallets for
digital
individuals.
wallets, digital currencies.
They don't care about
or-
decentralization,
Yes,
but
yeah.
they see like they swapping
Yeah,
stuff there.
it's hot and trendy.
Right,
Maybe they should
yeah.
do the same thing, and this would be easy to sell it to population, basically.
Right.
So so just to properly explaining that. Yeah, it's not them making it up. It's based off crypto that is based off Bitcoin, and that's where the idea
So I think
came from.
maybe you would be the right person to ask. So that's what I think is interesting to talk to you in particular. You're someone that talked to all these people in the movie, and you have this overview. So most people they're specialists in one field, but how do you find someone that really has this general perspective? So can you explain to someone that doesn't know much what's crypto, what's blockchain, what's Bitcoin?
Yeah. Okay. So blockchain is just a ledger that can keep track of transactions. Now there's different blockchains that allow some additional work to be done on. This is what other crypto does, mostly because Bitcoin doesn't allow for this. Bitcoin, you have to build around the network in order to add functionality, which is the way it should be. Because the problem with the second biggest there is Ethereum. They have their own blockchain, but it's much more flexible, agile. People can personalize it, build on top of it directly, it just creates a layered mess with an uncontrolled supply. And that's what distinguishes Bitcoin and crypto, because Bitcoin is just about the hard money value. It's about solving the problems in our monetary system, whereas crypto is about, you know, tech and making it fun for people to build stuff, and you know, it can have its value for that, but definitely not as the next monetary system that we're gonna have. And so it's kind of the monetary system and fixing it versus solving corporate problems.
So maybe touch on that. For the reset, we call it reset.
All right.
The great reset. So
I was told to use that title, in fact.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How do you keep your optimism?
About Bitcoin?
Bitcoin, yeah.
Because of what's happening in this great reset? Yeah, the way I see it is that, you know, it's up to us to make the future that we want happen. So it goes through education, through, you know, increasing utility and adoption. And I think that in the end, Bitcoin being the better money, it's what's gonna win. I mean, you know, I was even having a conversation with you just a second ago, like, why wouldn't CBDCs change this future? And I think that in the end, it's because it's an open and decentralized network that makes it that if one place decides to ban it, and we've seen this with China last year, or decides to, you know, blacklist certain addresses or whatever, there will be other countries, districts in the world that are more forward thinking when it comes to that, and will allow people to just move there. That's one of the great thing of Bitcoin, is that you can literally cross a border remembering a few words in your mind and your entire wealth is still with you.
Yep.
Right? And you can let go of any physical property and go to a place that is more welcoming to your way of thinking about everything in the world and the way you approach your own freedom.
How many times did you iterate on your script?
Many.
Yeah.
So I was kind of already editing while I was writing, you know, very flexible kind of approach in how to make this film. And there was an entire, like, it was pretty much done. And then there was the idea of, you know, adding a new interview of myself as well. So because it was very monotonous, because it was my voice just over it. So adding a bit of a different dynamic and a more natural way of explaining this. So I kind of had to go back and redo all the editing as well, which was, you know, a lot of work. But at the same time, when you're working on a film, you know it by heart. It's easy to like go back, and it's just a lot of time spent in front of your editing program and, you know, seeing what makes sense. And but yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you how many times, because it was just an ongoing process of, you know,
so
trial and error.
How much of the movie is problem focused and how much is like
Solution focused? Yeah, I'd say half-half, because there's really the first half focused on the economy and explaining in detail why we're in trouble, and then the whole Bitcoin part is already, you know, it focuses first explaining what is Bitcoin, how it works, and really the details as to why it's hard money and money that, you know, is better than any other form of money, and then the end of it just wraps it all together, explaining, you know, how Bitcoin will fit in the economical context that was explained at the beginning of the film. So
interesting. So yeah, maybe without too much spoiler alert, but like, what would you say should people be most excited about the solution part?
21 million. You know, that's in the end what makes Bitcoin.
Do you have Knut in the movie, or?
No. I don't. Yeah. But it would be great, because he would explain this concept the best, right? But you know, that's, I think, what is the main focus. It's 21 million. It's Lightning, and it's the difficulty of changing the base layer of Bitcoin.
Right.
Because, you know, for many, it's considered a problem, which I don't really understand, because the logical way of doing it is building around Bitcoin and creating competition there, right? And this is what will lead to, you know, more adoption, more utility, while keeping this hard asset.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, it seems like your movie is really a high density, you know, strong substance. It's not a easy chill thing. It's like you can watch it 10 times, you will still like be able to watch it once again and get new stuff, right? So I was wondering, like, you know, you could say, like, is there minimum IQ?
No.
But, so for your Accenture friends, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these industry people, they're struggling with that idea that Bitcoin is this phenomenon that it's so understanding, similar to understanding infinity. What's infinity? What is this really, right? Understanding decentralization. Like, is there really nobody that can shut it down? What if the governments, just ban on, protocol level, and all on and off ramps are KYC controlled? So, do you provide information on that side? So ultimately, is what's the viewer making up in his own mind? Seeing the pro and con side, so CBDCs versus the decentralized Bitcoin, blockchain, and Lightning solution.
Yeah, the bigger concept that's I meant to share in the film was everything divided by 21 million is this idea, right? And rather infinity, because it's just going to grow. Everything that we have today is much smaller than everything we'll have tomorrow because of the inflation that we're having and the irresponsible money printing that governments are doing, right? So really this concept, I don't necessarily go into the more technical details of how you can manage your own Bitcoin as well. There's no KYC talk, for example. It's just about understanding why Bitcoin matters, why some people want it to fail, and that focusing on Bitcoin today means that you're gonna beat these guys because they have too much interest for it to fail. They'll be the last to enter, and they will enter, right? They won't have a choice. I think governments are all gonna have to add it in their reserves because it'll just be this geopolitical risk if they don't. It's the the game theory part of Bitcoin that is I think fascinating as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, best of success, and I think so. Your ex-colleagues, have you showed them a trailer?
They watched the film. A lot of them have watched the film, and I got some really good feedback.
Some serious orange pilling going on.
Yeah, I try to. Yeah, and whenever I'm back, and I'd always try to meet with at least one colleague and tell them about it even more, and because they're very smart people. They've worked on very complex problems as part of their professional careers, and if we can get them working into Bitcoin, it's this much more brain into it.
Definitely. I mean, even you're a great example of that. I think it really shows that Bitcoin is growing and more talent and amazing people really joining like yourself. So what's up next? So you have a long way to go with the promotion of the film, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking
for the next one.
Yeah,
these Accenture guys, right? So they impatient.
Yeah, no, because it's there's a moment where I'm starting to feel like a broken record at the same time, just pushing this, and because as I said, there's a lot of spamming
it's just
about
your
it.
nature,
Yeah, just wanting to do the next thing, the next project. I think is because I know that, and we've talked about it even before we started this interview, that it could be done that much better. Yeah, I want to be able to produce something that is that much better. Right, and there's so much to talk about, when it comes to Bitcoin, its importance geopolitically, about freedom. I mean, there's just so much out there that we're discovering more and more as well, right? Because there's just more and more thinkers in the space that, I mean, when Bitcoin started off, it was only the, money of the internet. Now it's, we realize that it concerns, energy and the, future transition that energy is going to have, and Bitcoin I think will be there. Freedom when it comes to financial freedom that individuals can have. There's all these things that you could do 10-hour long documentaries if you wanted to. Yeah.
Sadly, the attention span is just 10 minutes of people. I think we're already over 20 minutes. Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, a slidey was going to be flipped first. And then please and thank you.
Thank you first of all.
And then that solves our issue.
For being the cameraman.
Great show with the camera there.
Sure. Maybe about the CBDCs.
It really bothers him.
Yeah, it really bothers me.
You're right, it should bother you.
No, I don't think so. So what I said in the shower today, I said look, so although Bitcoin can perfectly coexist with any shitcoin, a shitcoin will have a hard time survive Bitcoin.
Yes.
And so I'm pretty optimistic. I mean, unless you ban Bitcoin or actually kill Bitcoin, what you're gonna do? Your neighbor's gonna have hard money, hard. So that's what Bitcoin does. So I think someone made a really great analogy. It's like this breakthrough. This is actual breakthrough. The actual breakthrough is because it is decentralized, Bitcoin created a open market. For the first time we have monetary competition, and that's it. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
And like hard money wins.
Yes, definitely. But it doesn't mean that it won't be difficult on the way, you know? But CBDCs are just the next hurdle, and Bitcoin will overcome it. But because, you know, it's this question of on-ramp and off-ramp kind of, and how CBDCs are going to change. Because people won't have a choice, they will go to CBDCs.
If you look at your history, isn't like an on and off ramp question, you know? So like people were fighting for wars and, you know, like hunger and starvation and stuff like that. So like on and off ramp, you know, what is this even? Like I want, you know, fresh eggs and goat milk. So so I think like Bitcoin will find its way. And I mean, so there's the mark, you know, again, like the title of your movie, I think is so interesting that you went that far and said, look, like, that's what it is about. Like we have to realize this is a transformation on a global level, and it is happening in front of our eyes, right? So I wonder how we see with, you know, so that's why also I think it's, so I would like to ask you actually, so we have witnessed how it is possible for the entire globe to implement health authority measures. Is that something you have a reference to in the movie also, or you know, just the fact that it's possible to have
to organize this? No, no.
Globally.
The film doesn't cover that. You know, I mean, it shows that CBDCs are a global thing, right? Because there's you know,
all central banks are exploring.
And so you know, the film really covers that. So it shows that it's anyway happening everywhere, and also the film explains that there is this coordinated movement for inflation, that it's happening everywhere, and you know, regardless what country you're at, whether you're looking at monetary supply, welfare spending that follows monetary supply and inflation because people are getting poorer, that there's no country that is different. Everyone is following the same direction, which if you look at a chart is the same as Bitcoin, which is up and to the right, but in a bad way.
Against Bitcoin.
Yes, exactly. Against Bitcoin is
which is similar to the Corona thing. What was your precise question? Like how people could possibly counter that event?
Yeah, I mean, it's enforced currency, fiat currency. So, and if people have to pay taxes in CBDCs, then they need to use it. So there's like forced utility for CBDCs, and you prevent it from like only using Bitcoin in some way. And then I have another question about Bitcoin itself. What if Bitcoin was created by, you know, like people who are kind of running the central banks, maybe through the intelligence agencies, as like this NSA theory, or maybe CIA.
He's asking me this bullshit. 2 years.
No,
and
like,
so to kind of entice people to adopt digital currencies and then make the transition easier to CBDCs.
So, like, I understand this argument. I've seen it go around a bit, but I think that if it was, you know, a creation by our current overlords, that they're likely regretting it because it's just the rules that are behind Bitcoin.
So, and that's the point, right? So it's like it's a code that you can't alter.
Yeah.
And so the question is this code legit and genuine or not? And does the NSA have a backdoor or not? So they might have a backdoor. What's selecting it?
I think given how, like, or at least publicly, they've been trying to kill Bitcoin since its inception, right? I think that it's very unlikely that there is a backdoor, and I think the backdoor would have been found already. I think, you know, it's just, regardless who created it, and this is, I think, the whole power as to, you know, not knowing who created it, is that now it's just open. It belongs to everyone, and whoever participates by either owning some or building on top of it is part of who controls Bitcoin in the end, because it's about the money that people choose to use and choose to save in, you know. Sure, CBDCs, I think, will be a thing, and for a lot of, it will create problems in terms of on-ramp, off-ramp, particularly for people that, you know, will be victims of hyperinflation and won't have a choice when it comes to using CBDCs, because this is how welfare spending will be distributed. But that's just a temporary hurdle again that Bitcoin is going to overcome, because in the end freedom is what people want. And whenever
They want number go up also.
they want number go up, definitely, but number go up, if you think about it, number go up is mostly because you're not losing value against fiat, right? A lot of this number is just keeping up with inflation. It's not necessarily
Actually, it goes up if you could because you could buy gold, and
Yes,
it would
yes,
just
yes.
protect you from hardly protect you from fiat inflation.
Yeah.
But then Bitcoin actually, it's not. It's almost like a shitcoin in terms of how much it appreciates.
But sorry, but it's just faith, right?
No,
No, it's more than that.
so
Because
it's economics. It's hard money
Yeah.
kills easy money. Money has to be hard to succeed. And if you look into monetary history, that's what you see. It's always the same thing. So you have a technology as a money, and then as soon as somebody figures out how to produce more of it, it fails. Money can only be something that's hard to produce. And gold is not hard to produce. And there might be planets
It's
out
hard to
there.
produce.
Gold is hard to produce. It's the hardest as we got. The problem is the storage. It's like it failed as a standard because of the storage issue. Bitcoin solved that problem.
yeah, and again, comparing it to gold, there's the idea that if the price of gold is increasing, then the production of gold is also going to increase. With Bitcoin, that's impossible. The production of Bitcoin, we know what it is. It's set until like the year 2140, and there's no way of increasing that production. Therefore, the price will be always number go up.
So to finish off, Pierre, what are the screening dates for this year?
For now, there's no other screening plans. I'll see, depending on interest and where I travel, and if I go to other Bitcoin meetups like that or conferences, then I could look into organizing this kind of thing. But for now, it's available online. I recommend everyone to go check out the film if you haven't. The Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin. And and if ever you do want a screening or organize a screening, anyone can reach out to organize this locally. If I can, I'll fly out, definitely.
Yep.
But I recommend anyone to organize this as well. The film is completely for free. Everything is open source on the website. You have access to every data source, every media source, everything that I used, and the idea is for the community to also take it. I recommend anyone to organize screenings. It's open. Just hit me up, and I can send you the right version file.
Man, Pierre, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Really
Lots of
good.
success further on. I'm really excited for your future projects, but I think there's enough work for you now to promote the Great Reset.
Yeah.
So thanks so
yeah.
much, man.
Thanks a lot, man.